The Iran I remember is lush, busy and thrumming, swollen with texture, sound, and scent. Many of its aesthetic elements can be found in the things you buy at the bazaar: pistachios, textiles, honey and rosewater sweets, silver and turquoise jewelry, saffron, sumac, limu, cardamom, turmeric, plates laced with delicate, sacred geometric patterns, black tea, fenugreek, tart cherry syrup, of course, hand-woven carpets. There is color everywhere, no restraint regarding how many patterns can coexist. Everything is moving, pulsing, blooming, deep, and dense. The Iranian militant body holds each of these aesthetic qualities within it, like the kernels of a pomegranate. The greedy little Lego men who feed on the juice of our labor and the beating heart of our children thought they could crush that body by slaying its supreme leader, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei, but instead they split the fruit. As the warrior pope ascended to martyrdom, each ruby seed sprouted into its own fruiting tree. The revolution, muted by decades of savage sanctions and relentless propaganda, began to reawaken in the flesh of the people. The streets flooded with them, these citizen militants. They stood in mourning for their holy leader, in support of their government, in solidarity with Palestine and Lebanon, in brazen defiance of American and Israeli bombs, and most of all, in defense of their land. At least 2 Iranian leaders have become international heartthrobs, not just for their strong, chiseled features and commanding presence, but for their poise, steadfastness, and evident intellects. Many government higher-ups made appearances at the street rallies during the active phase of the war, mingling fearlessly with the people. Contrary to the Mossad-instigated rumors that he had fled to a bunker in Russia, Khamenei refused over and over again to evacuate. He insisted that unless all 90+ million Iranians could also be moved to safety, he would stay right where he was. He was martyred along with his family in his simple, humble home. It has begun to dawn on many Iranians who have been critical of the Islamic Republic for decades that in the face of aggression from the strongest and most belligerent military force in the world, their leaders are willing to give their lives for the people. They have demonstrated militant commitment to the cause of Iranian sovereignty and more, to the liberation of West Asia from the clutches of the Epstein Empire. But it's the militancy of the academics that has moved me the most. Some, like Setareh Sadeghi, Mohammad Morandi, and Fouad Izzadi, have been in Iran slinging their scholarship like swords for decades. Others, like Sarah Larijani, Taha Zainali, and Helia Doutari, moved back recently to be on the ground with their family and comrades and found it fertile for their intellectual work. When they write and speak about and for their homeland, they are magnetic. They disseminate revolutionary clarity through their words. They are calling us to join them, to wield our pens like machetes, to open our mouths and contribute decibels to their piercing, vital battle cry. In them, from them, Iran is born again and again. Every time I watch the video of the woman and her small son out on the street during the Ramadan phase of this protracted war on my motherland, I am brought to my knees. It reveals what the empire has tried so hard to obscure. The state and culture that grew out of the Iranian Revolution are intimately, inextricably entangled with the struggle for Palestinian liberation. This passage from J. Lee Hyder's rousing pamphlet on the ethos of Shia resistance performs razor-sharp political religious education on the matter. Quote, "Why, critics ask, does Iran continue to support Palestinian resistance under conditions of sanctions and immense cost? If politics is reduced entirely to self-interest, the answer must be hidden gain. But that explanation remains insufficient. Gaza offers no annexable territory. Palestinian movements are not extensions of Iranian sovereignty. A more coherent explanation lies in the moral vocabulary of Karbala. Palestine appears in this framework not as a convenient cause, but as a paradigmatic site of siege, dispossession, and resistance. Support is therefore described within this tradition as obligation, not generosity. Sanctions do not negate that obligation, they intensify the test, unquote. The revolutionary strand of Shia Islam, as I'm coming to understand it, holds at its heart a steady beat of refusal. It is a theory/theology rooted in the material grammar of resistance. The aesthetic of Shia militancy's decolonial love is well described in Haider's recounting of Zainab's tale, which follows Hussein's rejection of allegiance to the tyrant Yazid. Quote, taken captive and brought before Yazid's court, she stood at the very center of imperial spectacle. The empire had expected to exhibit the survivors as proof of victory. Instead, she turned the court into a site of indictment. When asked what she had seen at Karbala, she's reported in Shia memory to have replied, "I saw nothing but beauty." This statement has often been misunderstood, especially by those who read it sentimentally or literally. It did not deny suffering. It did not beautify slaughter. It did something far more radical. It redefined victory. Zainab declared that the empire had not won at the deepest level because it had failed to secure moral surrender. Beauty lay not in bloodshed, but in its refusal. Beauty lay in truth remaining intact. Beauty lay in honor preserved despite annihilation. With this, she shattered the imperial narrative of triumph and ensured that Karbala would be remembered not as a military defeat, but as a moral victory, unquote. As an Iranian daughter, my upbringing was laced with love for Palestine. That love lay dormant for a long time, but mercifully it never died in me. Tufan al-Aqsa fleshed it back in, swept me up, and carried me, along with so many millions of comrades across the planet, on its current. In a way, it has borne me back to Iran, the land that birthed me. For her unflinching support of the struggle for Palestinian liberation, Helia was fired from her positions as Deputy Director of Yale University's Law and Political Economy Project and Associate Research Scholar at Yale Law School in 2025. Their great loss was her gain. Iran opened its arms to her, and she folded back into its fierce embrace. Love for Palestine, Iranian or otherwise, is decolonial love. It is love that dialectically clutches a dense pit of hate for the Zionist entity within its gut. Around that pit, a small, bright, contradictory contraction of pain, a pearl grows. So too, we gather to negate that hateful, constitutive negation. We wrap around it films of light and color in the sweet and sacred flesh of our collective liberatory love. A few weeks into the Ramadan phase of the war on Iranian sovereignty, a tribesman in the southwest shot down a U.S. aircraft. In an interview on state TV, sitting next to his young daughter, he recounted the event. Quote, "I told the kids not to come outside. After I fired a few shots, I heard her yelling, 'Dad, shoot!' She was shouting, 'Dad, shoot! It didn't come down, shoot!' The host asks his daughter, 'Why?' She replies, 'For the little martyr girls of Minab, for our dear leader, to destroy the enemies, America and Israel.' 'And why,' the host asks, 'do you think they're the enemy and should be shot at?' The little girl responds without missing a beat, 'Because they're child killers.'" Unquote. Everywhere, women. On the streets, in droves, eyes glittering, mouths set in defiant smirks. Women with their heads wrapped in kufiyas stand alongside women fully cloaked in hijab and chador, stand alongside uncovered, hair-dyed hipster types. They tease and hug and scold and kiss each other and wave the same flag and vow to protect each other's children with their bodies until their dying breath. In the wake of the destruction of yet another ancient mosque, two young women joke about how Iran can't destroy historic sites in Israel because Israel has no historic sites. In a piece about the labor protests in December, Helia describes the findings of her fieldwork in Asaluye. Quote, across narratives, women consistently rejected foreign and Western intervention, identifying such involvement as an attempt to appropriate an indigenous labor struggle for imperial ends. What unified their accounts was a prioritization of collective reproduction over individual self-realization. Wearing diverse forms of hijabs, these women rejected liberal feminist reductions of emancipation to bodily symbolism. For them, liberation is found in dignified wages, job security, safe and dignified working conditions, and a future not subordinated to imperial extraction. In Asaluye, women's political agency directly contests the universalist claims of Western feminism, affirming that women's emancipation is inseparable from class struggle, anti-imperialism, and Iran's national sovereignty. Unquote. Helia studies how sanctions are instruments of de-development, wedges forced between the people and the bounty of their land. Not only do they squeeze each individual throat, they actively produce systems that align with and enforce the global imperialist structure, deepening dependence and undermining efforts at sovereignty. Sovereignty, Helia knows, is a precondition for liberation. There can be no liberation under imperialism. Helia, a raven-haired, fire-hearted, Muslim, Marxist warrior daughter of Iran, has learned this lesson from her revolutionary nation. A little girl no older than 4 with a flag painted on each cheek says she wants a pink missile to hit Tel Aviv. And so, a missile is painted pink, inscribed with the phrase, in response to a request from a revolutionary girl. Women ride through their streets in pink jeeps, wielding pink Kalashnikovs, escorting pink Shahed drones. The contradiction between the literal washing pink of the people's weaponry and the twisted, genocidal, feminist pink washing conducted by the Zionist entity is sharp and sweet. These women, my sisters, perform their militant feminine sovereignty flagrantly in the face of their limpid, pearl-clutching Western counterparts.
سلام عرض میکنم ملت عزیز ایران
Alongside and entangled with her stringent, vital scholarship, Helia makes a documentary series that lifts the testimonies of the people of Minab to the foreground of the discourse where they belong. Each episode opens with her voice as narrator, stating that the project, quote, demands the world to bear witness to how the most dignified form of life came under assault by the profit-seeking machinery of death, which, for all its forces, cannot extinguish the love that sustains what it seeks to destroy. Unquote. Only 2 episodes of Still Minab have come out at the time I'm writing this, but already, immediately, the series registers as an essential contribution to the archive of this pivotal moment in history. I will admit that I held off on watching the 2nd episode until today. I knew I wanted to do so for this last section of my project, but the 1st episode was intensely painful. It wrenched me in a way I didn't think possible after nearly 3 years of live stream genocide. Maybe this is because the humans in Minab are even closer kin to me than are those in Gaza. I am made quite literally of the same materials as those martyred children and their parents. Our bodies emerged from the very same swath of earth. Maybe, much as we try to distance ourselves from it, there is some horrible truth in the correlation between empathy and similarity. Or maybe Still Minab is just that formidable a work of art, an exploration of life. Salvific, sublime. Episode 2 concludes with words written and spoken by Helia alongside the words of a mourning mother, Muhaddiseh. These words and the aesthetic they develop, from which they unfurl, are more militant in their precision and their poetry than any I could ever hope to produce. They carry more life water, more tears, more bite and breadth and beauty than mine ever could. It is a deep honor to have taken them into my own bones and to transcribe them here. Hell yeah. Accountability begins with truth, the one that lives in the mothers and women who carry within them the power of life and resistance in a way that is unshakable, who share a life-giving love with children that grounds an eternal remembrance of who they were and demands justice for the futures lost, for what they could have been. Even as they hold a pain words could never articulate, a loss that could never be rectified, they carry their martyred children, lift them up for the world to see that their sacred lives exceed the imperialist death machine. The mothers carry life. They give birth to and raise up lives that carry forward the struggle for liberation. They renew the life of the land from which they themselves were born, to which they belong. A belonging, a love that the imperialist death machine can never destroy. They are the roots of the tree that the death machine tried to burn down. Speaking at the funeral, Muhaddis says, "Like those who fell for our land, their sacrifice bears fruit in these innocent children. From their blood, tulips will grow until the Savior arrives." Helia's voice, a clarion call, carries us out of the quiet, potent masterpiece that is the second episode of Still Me Not. Imperialism fails in its world-destroying aims, for it confronts an irrepressible contradiction. Its eliminationist violence only seeds in the targeted lands and peoples a resistance with even deeper roots. The mothers of Iran, like the mothers and women of Palestine, Lebanon, and Yemen, are the primary life-givers to liberation. Not only through the birth of children, but through the reproductive care of humans, of land, and of love itself. So this is to honor Mahdieh and Amin, but it is also to honor Muhaddiseh, their mother, and the mothers and the women of Iran who carry the resistance forward, not despite the death machine, but against it, with every seed they plant, with every meal they share, with every child they raise. The Ahmadzadeh family practiced the deep logic of liberation. The bomb could not destroy the soil. The missile could not bury the name. And from the same earth, something sweet will grow. Sweet for the living and bitter for the death machine. Over the past few weeks, by almost accident through the ether of the internet, I've made a friend in Tehran, the city where I took my first breath. He studies and teaches about Black American revolutionaries, makes music with like-souled comrades from all across this big, strange planet, is conversant in the thickly detailed, million-layered Iranian way about everything from hip-hop culture to meme culture to psychoanalysis. When we talk on Telegram at odd hours, I let him dial the Zoom slider from the geopolitical macro to the intimate micro. Our scars, our tastes, the people we love, the wonder and worry and rage we felt and lost and relocated over our years. He tells me of his awakening a few years ago to the potency of our country, to the religion that infuses its ancient, dignified mode of statecraft, of war, and of resistance. Islam, the pungent brew imbibed by so many vanguards, shoved the sick cloak of US-Israeli propaganda off his shoulders and reached him, saved him, drew him back into the righteous people's struggle for liberation. Raw and ravenous from my own recent awakening, I see how all this makes him glow. In my eyes, he is luminous as an alien moon, one of so many glittering, militant orbs piercing through the ink-black imperial night. The materiality of me softens, opens, inverts around the light. I think of martyrs. I think of all our precious martyrs. These thoughts turn to prayer within the matter of my beating heart. If I follow him, follow them, I pray, I too might reach such beauty.